And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic. Feel the funk, baby. And on the cool check-in.
Let's officially get ready. Go to the session. One by one, two by two. Let's go. Get this straight real quick.
And on the cool check-in, center
quick
stage
check.
on the mic. Feel the funk, baby. And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic. Feel the funk, baby.
Mic check, check. 1 2 1 2. Mic check, check. 1 2.
And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic. Feel the funk, baby. And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic. Feel the
Let it be what it is.
And on the cool check-in, center
Gotta get
stage
started
on
in
the
a
mic.
few.
Feel the funk, baby. And on the cool check-in, center stage on the mic. Feel the funk, baby.
All right. What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Hip Hop Now Podcast, but something a little bit different for 2025. Live streams, random, sometimes scheduled, where we sit down and just talk real quick about things that are kind of breaking news, but more importantly, things that are a little bit outside of the scope of the typical news stories I cover. I like to cover the music mostly and the culture. But there's a lot outside of the culture that happens, whether it's people having beefs or other situations or lawsuits that I don't necessarily like to cover on the weekly podcast, but because I'm right here live and in color. In 2025, I decided let's start going over some of the things that happened throughout the week that may not necessarily be about an album review or what's coming up or something for the culture, but something that still the culture cares about. You know what I'm saying? So here you have it now. If you've been living under a rock, first and foremost, subscribe to the channel, like, comment on this stream. I will show related comments right here on the stream. This is a YouTube exclusive, so if you listen to the audio podcast, I'm sorry. I'm not going to produce this for you, but there's other content available. But let's get right into the business. So if you've been living under a rock, you know, there was the battle last year between Kendrick Lamar and Drake that, you know, basically ended with the song Not Like Us. And people were picking sides, but generally speaking, most people believe Kendrick won the battle. It's over, the end, right? And there's been a lot of talk about Drake and, you know, him not really taking the L. So he's tried to do different things, whether it's release 100 gigs for your head top or saying things on social media or leaked songs that get deleted or, you know, DMs that are leaked but didn't get deleted, like just a bunch of stuff. But one of the things that stood out was him filing 2 petitions, one in particular about you know, the song Not Like Us specifically, but also Universal Music Group and Spotify being implicated as boosting that song to a point where now it's popular. You know what I'm saying? Making it more popular than it is. And one of the petitions was more so about accusing UMG and Spotify conspiring together, mostly Universal Music Group, to pay for bots to boost the Not Like Us song, which would make it more popular. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that it wasn't already popular. It just means that you couldn't escape it. Like, let's just say you're not even locked into the battle, and you know, you log into Spotify and all that, and you see that you know, the song is everywhere. It's on playlists. It's in front of you. It's all stuff like that. And then the other one was defamation of character for the petition, which really had more to do with him being called pedo, right? And so petitions are one thing that's just saying, hey, you know, I might sue you, I might not, but it looks fishy, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think yesterday he withdrew both petitions, right? And everybody made videos about it and saying, oh, okay, it wasn't really that real. He was pump faking. But today, and we're going to share our screen on this one. Today, it's official because Drake has filed a federal charge against UMG for defamation of character over the song Not Like Us. Generally speaking, it has more to do with not Kendrick. So I know y'all want to go back and forth, but not necessarily Kendrick, but the fact that he's saying Universal Music Group used that song, that momentum, the battle, in order to put him in a very bad space business-wise, compromise him as an artist, all these different things, and basically accuse him of or helping a song that accuses him of being a pedo. So here's hiphopdx.com. All this stuff is new to me. This is what I do on Hip Hop Now podcast. I react to the news. And we're just going to go through it real quick. Drake sues UMG for defamation over Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. Drake is officially suing Universal Music Group over Kendrick Lamar's hit diss record, Not Like Us. On Wednesday, January 15th, Drake filed a complaint in New York federal court accusing the music giant, the parent company of his and Kendrick Lamar's respective record labels, defamation and harassment. In the suit, which has been viewed by Hip Hop DX, the Toronto rapper condemns UMG for having approved, published, and launched a campaign to create a viral hit out of a rap track that falsely accuses Drake of being a pedo and calls for violent retribution against him. We're going to talk about that one. He repeats previous claims that the company used unlawful methods to turn Not Like Us into a global hit, including secretly paying for fake streams and radio play. The motive for this, he says, was financial. Not only would the song generate massive amounts of money through streams and sales, but UMG knew its dangerous content would devalue Drake's music and brand and give them an advantage when it came to the time to renegotiate his contract. And here's a quote, because I'm not going to read all of it. UMG anticipated that extending Drake's contract would be costly. The lawsuit reads, by devaluing Drake's music and brand, UMG would gain leverage to force Drake to sign a new deal on terms more favorable to UMG. Let's just read this last thing. Supporting his claim of defamation, the complaint includes numerous examples of avalanche of online hate speech that has branded Drake as sex offender and pedo. It also cites a shooting at the rapper's Toronto's home shortly after the release Not Like Us, which injured a security guard, as well as multiple trespassing incidents. According to Drake, UMG is to blame. So it goes on and on and on and on, and it's weird, right? Because in a lot of ways, when you look at the whole notion of this, right, from two sides, right? You can look at it from the battle side. A battle occurred, you lost. Battles have never had any rules. Drake knows this because he's a battle rap fan. Personals, all kinds of situations are par for the course. Let's not forget, he wasn't being called a pedo first. He was saying that Kendrick Lamar was beating on his woman, saying his son wasn't his son, it belonged to his best friend. Like, he kind of went there with the personals, which is par for the course for battle rap. If it's going to get personal, it's going to get personal. And it did. But Not Like Us was lightning in the bottle. I could tell you firsthand, there was nothing, put it this way, Universal Music Group couldn't move fast enough to make people like this record. You know what I'm saying? Because people were tied into the battle. So it was already going to do a certain amount of numbers. But from a non-battle standpoint, Drake has a point. Because from a business standpoint, this is also your company, and maybe you're costing, not you, UMG, but I mean, this is who you also work for, like Kendrick Lamar, right? Because you have deals with them. You're partners with them in a lot of ways. And maybe it's just more costly to deal with Drake than anybody else because he's so successful and he's so popular. He demands a lot, and a lot financially probably also. But I still can't see why you would want to, I guess to Drake's point, to leverage a potential business deal in the future, a renegotiation of his contract would put it in their favor to come up to the meet and say, shucks, you got cooked in that battle. I don't know if we should give you that, you know? People not feeling you like that, like they used to. I think in a lot of ways he has a point, because that's realistic. That's not even about the battle. That's not about Kendrick Lamar. That's realistic. Unfortunately, for everything that Drake has done to earn money for record labels, partners, promoters, radio, all of that, it's always on to the next one. Like, that's par for the course for the record industry. Like, you could be the biggest thing in the world and still get dropped from your label if the perception is the people don't really mess with you no more. So we can just drop you in advance instead of finding new ways or partnering to keep that thing going or extend it. And it's happened to the best of them. So I could see that being a case for Drake, because it's something to be leveraged, right? It's not that Kendrick Lamar conspired with UMG to get him out of here. It might have been a happy accident for somebody who was already looking at like not really wanting to pay him like that, next go round. So if he's on a downturn, they could be like, oh, well, you're not hot like that no more, we over here. Now, there was another part of this that also mentioned UMG being instrumental in helping Kendrick Lamar to get the Super Bowl. Now, granted, he's still one of the artists they work with. So, of course, they're going to be behind one of their artists getting the Super Bowl. That just goes without saying. But Drake is alleging that this is to further that and have him perform Not Like Us on basically what is essentially a world stage when you're talking about the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is not just this local thing, not just this national thing. People watch it from everywhere. And to Drake's point, if Kendrick is going to perform Not Like Us, which everybody expects him to, that's just, when you look at the lyrics, that's just bad. Like for Drake, that's the most embarrassing. That's more damaging than the song existing itself. Because as many people have heard the record, you're talking about people who probably never heard the record. I don't care how popular the song is. There's just more people in the world who might, happen to watch the Super Bowl and maybe they never heard of Kendrick, you know what I'm saying? Or never really heard his music. And they hear this song dissing Drake, and somebody in their family know the deal. Like, oh, that song's about he cooked this dude from Canada, blah, 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 blah. And it's just, it's more dirt on Drake. So I get it. But I guess one of the big takeaways here, looking at this story, is the fact that if this is true, especially the bots and the thing about a radio promoter, if this is true, paying for bots, paying for a radio promoter to pump the stuff or whatever, the music, who's to say they don't do this all the time for their artists, including Drake? I think in a lot of ways, it'll wind up exposing everybody, not just bots being used for this particular song, Not Like Us, but bots being used in any instance. Why would you only use it, to further a battle? Like, the record industry has never cared that much about the artistry. It's really about the money, right? And you're not gonna make money by tearing down one of your assets. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you gotta make money on this thing, because now this thing, you done tore it down. And I feel like I can't see a situation where if UMG is using bots and paying radio promoters, which is been happening since however long, then they using bots for everybody, including Drake, right? Like, that's like not that this would happen, but that's like the judge saying, okay, I need to see the receipts from, ordering bots in different situations. And it has to be detailed. So they can come out and say, yo, we did it on this song. For All the Dogs was a little slow out the gate than usual. So we did this, It's just going to expose all of it. And what it's going to do for us as music fans is say, or have us say, at least for me, so that song was popular, but maybe not as popular. Or maybe this other song wasn't popular at all. And they just gave it the appearance that this is a new song you should check out. Because a lot of times that happens, right? People talk enough about a record, individual's going to go and listen to it. And that's a stream. And you're talking about curiosity streams for the most part That happens all the time. I do it all the time, even with artists like what's the Leangelo Ball, right? Tweaker. They were talking about this record so crazy because I watch a lot of sports. I'm like, man, let me listen and see what this sound. I didn't necessarily like it because it wasn't bad. It was just like, why don't I just go listen to Birdman? Same stuff, basically, but it was cool. But again, he got streams out of me based off of curiosity and word of mouth and all of that. And for the most part, even though bots didn't exist back in the days, a lot more of that money was going towards payola. You know, different DJs and radio stations. And, you know, one thing that I know I experienced a lot as a host, especially of a hip hop show, like getting CDs was nothing. Like for a new album, I remember Who Is Jill Scott and Music's first album, I think Faith's third album, G-Dep album. Like I remember one day I came in to check the mail and it was just boxes of CDs. And so I hit the promoter up like, yo, I mean, this ain't Hot 97. I'm glad I got some CDs, you know. But what do you want me to do? And he was like, yo, I don't care what you do. I'm just shipping them out to you so I can report on that. Do me a favor, do a giveaway or two. And, you know, do what you want with the rest of the CDs. So obviously, you know, a part of that is, you know, of course I get a CD because it's promotional and I do the giveaways. But now we just got all these boxes of CDs, and that went from, you know, making them available to volunteers to the radio station to all kinds of stuff. But it's par for the course back then to make sure you get it to the people, like the influencers of that time, in order to get it in more people's hands, get the word of mouth going, blah, blah, blah. But now you can do a little bit of that. And I mean a little bit. And then you can just do bots. And the funny thing about bots is there are a lot of people who do it for their podcasts, right? There are a lot of people who will pay for example, for YouTube to register, you know, let's just say 5,000 people view this within an hour with 0 comments. Anything that's taken off and that's viral, if you got that many views, you're going to have a decent amount of comments. So I said all that to say is, while I can see where Drake, well, first of all, let's just say this. This ain't what he did before. This is real. He's actively suing Universal Music Group now. Before it was a petition. It was like, nah, maybe they doing something. They look kind of fishy, but no, now it's real. And it's about this song. And part of me, as a hip hop head, looks at the whole thing as cheapening battles in hip hop, because now it kind of opens the door for, like, let's just say you hop into a time machine and MC Shan might be like, you know, I ain't like what Carol once said. You know, NWA, what Ice Cube say on No Vaseline? Like, it just opens up the door for it to be a possibility to have battles where one of the battle rappers loses, or one of the artists loses and finds a way to take it to the courts. Now, the only positive thing here is he's not taking Kendrick to the courts. But now, imagine if Drake wins this. Now record labels, if I was a part of a record label, I'm like, no, you will not get involved with the battle, or let me see them lyrics first. What you saying about him? Because we not trying to get hemmed up and have a bill based off of you two guys wanting to have a sport and battle each other. And that's kind of the thing that I'm most afraid of. But on the other end, Drake would not be wrong for suing them if it was about impacting, renegotiating a contract. Because Drake is down. He's not out. but he is down. And they could use that in a renegotiation tactic. They could use that, like, yo, you ain't hot. You ain't it. People think you a pedophile. People say you whack. You know, you emotional. Everything is going down. We don't believe your sales will be what they were, so we can't pay you like that. He has a point. So I think this whole thing is interesting, especially now that it's like official. Previously, I didn't even want to talk about it on the show because the simple fact I felt like, you know, well, okay, you pump faking, but you know what it is. You're going to sue somebody or not. But now it's official. And it's going to be interesting considering, put it this way, don't look for no new Drake album. No time soon. There's no way I can see them allowing him to release music while this is happening. And that's part of the reason why you get the song dropped here and then it got pulled down. Song dropped over here and it got pulled down. Ghost account on IG dropping songs and then they got to be removed because you can't drop. So this also makes, I'm curious to see what Universal Music Group has to say, like the press releases for Drake, press release for UMG, and more importantly, what Kendrick performs on that stage, because I think in a lot of ways he doesn't have to perform Not Like Us because he just released an album and that's top of mind for most people. But because the battle was so historic, honestly, in nature, you almost expect to hear Not Like Us because it was the popular song, Bots Be Damned. I don't know if it's going to happen. So let me know what you think about Drake officially filing for a federal lawsuit against Universal Music Group. Do you think it's cool? Is it whack for hip hop? Is it good for business? Do you think Kendrick is going to go ahead and perform Not Like Us? Maybe he has it planned to do. Do you think UMG going to be like, hold up, player? Hold on, don't do that song. Anything but that one. Which, past example, not that related, but somewhat, like when Nas was going to perform Ether at Summer Jam, and Hot 97 wouldn't allow it. Well, it wasn't that they wouldn't allow him to perform the song. It was he wanted like a dummy of Jay-Z hanging as he performed the song, and they was like, nah, you can't do that. For a number of reasons, right? Ethical reasons, and probably also they wanted to maintain that relationship with Jay-Z. And, it was just this big thing, and, who knows what happened closed doors. But I think the damage for both records, Ether, Not Like Us, the damage was done in the battles. You can't take it back. The only thing that's awkward is the whole fact that Drake just looks weird. He looks like every time he pops out, he's losing. You know what I'm saying? Like he's doing something to just make it seem more and more like an L. And I don't think any lawsuit is going to save him from the perception. Because hip hop is just that kind of a genre of music. It's more like a sport than a genre of music, especially when it comes to battling. We got a couple of comments here. What it says, he is basically snitching himself on how he got himself to be big through UMG. Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I don't, because again, like I said earlier, if he does this much to prove that song wasn't that popular, they use bots and they use all these different tactics. Well, they're gonna probably or have to or whatever show a history of using those tactics, right? And whether they're to discredit an artist or not, they're like, okay, well, He's saying we did it because we wanted to lower his value. But here we are doing those same tactics to make him a bigger artist than perceived. Now, personal thinking, especially as somebody who admittedly is a fan of Drake's music, not necessarily the rap. I don't dislike the rap, but probably more so the other stuff he makes. Along with being a Kendrick fan, I just feel like with Drake, man, he's tarnishing his own image. He's doing the rest of the work. What Kendrick say? A lifelong battle with yourself. That's literally playing out. And we in 2025, and I guess when that ball dropped, he just said same year. He wasn't trying to like, I'm gonna leave all of that behind and move forward with some new music. He just can't take it. So it's one of those things where it's gonna play out until it's done. But don't expect no new album from Drake anytime soon, because this is a monster. What else you got here? Social media, streaming reactions, and these bots. That's all Drake's game. Now when the game flips on him, he acts like a victim. Drake did this with Meek Mill. Yeah, you're right. Facts. Even if you think about the beginning of the battle, when Like That was out, and then Drake dropped Push-Ups. Even before he dropped Push-Ups, but definitely once he dropped Push-Ups, if you follow Drake on IG, he was going hard pause at like drop Kendrick and trolling Kendrick, wearing Compton shirts and all kinds of stuff. He just kept posting. Everything he did was an Instagram story. Like it was a response, right? Like again, we go back to the Kendrick lyrics. Why you trolling like a bitch? Ain't you tired? Like it's almost as if he can't get out of the matrix of the online situation. And I just don't know what's going to happen with this lawsuit. I mean, it may get into a settlement, because at the end of the day, is UMG willing to settle and part ways with Drake? That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if Drake will also use this as an opportunity to go independent. Because, I mean, he's a big enough of an artist that if he went independent, the money he receives from his work, especially if it's successful, after that, it's more than anything he was receiving at any other point, to be honest. So, I don't know, man. But we shall see. Super Bowl is right around the corner. It's going to get interesting on the internet. But again, this is not something I do all the time, but in 2025, expect live streams where you can participate. And also with the weekly Hip Hop Now podcast, the goal starting this week is to record that podcast live using YouTube, where you can come in and comment. Once the live stream is over, I produce it a little bit, but your comments will be a part of the podcast and the broadcast, which is something that I've wanted to do for a couple of years now, but now I see the pathway to do it and to do it right. So it should be dope, man. Stay locked right here. Follow me on everything social media at Vegas World INC. Subscribe to the podcast right here on YouTube if you haven't. But more importantly, share it with people you know would enjoy this kind of content. Until next time, y'all, I'm not a critic, I'm a fan. Peace.